Welcome to Fantasy Football Hub. Today I'm joined by the big man Bakar for the final video on this channel of the season. Bakar, an absolute honour to have you on for the final upload. Game week 38. How are you feeling about this game week and the season overall?
Thanks for having me, Jack. As always, it's been a pleasure. Hello and welcome to all the listeners and viewers. It's been a good season, especially the second half for me personally. From an FPL point of view, it's been great. I've done really well. I've sort of exceeded my expectations in the second half of the season. I was having a really poor season before the World Cup, but now I'm sitting pretty in the 39k, 38 rank. I targeted a 50k rank, and with 2 free transfers, I'm in a reasonable position to secure it. So I'm happy with how things are going. And I'm looking forward to the break that's coming up. I mean, it's been a long, hard, grueling season, especially with the World Cup. When you're a content creator, it does sort of get tedious. But yeah, very, very welcome the break.
Well, mate, let's have a look at your gaming history because it's very impressive, right? Over the past, from game week 21, roughly, I've just got up here. Yeah, a few red arrows recently. However, overall, from game week 33, where you're at 45k, you're now at your highest rank of the season so far. So you've got to be happy with the recent run, as you said.
Yes, I'm very, very happy. I've had my fair share of luck. Game week 29, when I didn't have Saka, he was very popular. Leon, he went on, a run of blanks. Very recently, even this week, I got Everson off the bench for Edison.
Yeah,
that was pure jam. Now that is just jam. It's borderline
that is super nice, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, these are the kind of swings that you need to go in your favor. They weren't going my way in the first half of the season. I barely had any auto sub points throughout the season. I think this was probably one of the first ones or the second. But yeah, it's very, very welcome.
You make your own luck. And as we always say in these videos, and I think, Bakar, you're someone that would completely agree with this, as much planning as you can do, and eventually, yes, good planning will win out, and you'll get the positive rewards that your planning will deserve. Ultimately, you do need a little bit of luck to go your way as well in order to get to those super high ranks.
Especially with the competition that's out there. I mean, with so much content available, the competition is increasing year by year. It's very hard to get a top 5k, top 10k finish nowadays. There's so many people who are invested. I mean, I look at some of my casual friends, and even they have access to YouTube, and they watch 1 or 2 FPL content creators every week. So it's becoming hard because the information is out there.
100%. And we can't really be too upset about that. People are doing. We've been doing it for a while now. More people are doing it. It's completely fair. And if anything, the competition being harder just means that we've got to do more to secure those top 10k, top 50k places. Okay, my friend. Let's have a look at your team for the upcoming game week, and I want to talk in a macro sense about game week 38 in general, and just your overall thoughts on the game week, how to kind of play it. It's a very original game week, a very unique game week, I would say, almost like a free hit. What are your thoughts on game week 38 in general?
My thoughts are that it's a bit of a lottery, and I mean, it's one where I'd advise people to go with their gut. It's all about vibes at this stage. I mean, it's all fine looking at underlying data and all, but it's at the end of the day, it's just one game week, and the outcome could be completely random, right? Yeah. Because generally, what happens is that when you're making a transfer, you're sort of evaluating it over multiple game weeks. But here in this scenario, there's just around 20, 30 good players that you can buy this week. So just go with whoever you think is the best choice. And, given the amount of options available, given the variety, I think it's important to look at who you're selling rather than buying this week, right?
Okay.
Because it's all fine having a list of potential targets in our head, but truth be told, we're at the mercy of one team league where one of the players doesn't start and all the planning sort of goes out of the window, right?
Yes.
And I think that is likely this week because we've loaded up on Brighton, Man City, Man United, Liverpool. I mean, these are the kind of teams which can rotate this week, and it's likely. I mean, it could be carnage, honestly. So my strategy is simply to just wait for team news, look at the weakest links in my team. They'll potentially be the ones who don't start, and just sell them rather than fixating on a particular player that I'll have to buy him at all costs. That's not what I'm gonna do.
Okay, which makes it interesting for this video because let's talk about team leaks then. If you're telling me that really in reality your decisions are going to be based off of team leaks, which makes complete sense, as you said, one little bit of news could disrupt all your transfers. I don't think there's too much point in me asking you what your initial thoughts are on transfers right now. More so, I want to know your strategy come what 3 p.m. The deadline's at 3:30, right? This Sunday. So say
Yeah.
3 p.m. You're getting some little inclinations as to news that could be out there. Where are you? What are you doing? Who are you following? What are you looking out for?
There's a couple of reliable content creators out there. FPL Raptor, Let's Talk, FPL Andy, Team News. I've forgotten the name of this Twitter account.
Antics, I
Team
believe.
Tricks. Yeah, Team News and Tricks, something like that. I mean, these are the three that I'm gonna follow. That's it. I mean, that's going to be the strategy. I'm going to wait for, let's say, 10 minutes before the deadline because I don't want to risk and leave myself at the mercy of the service crashing because
Yeah,
everyone is going to be looking at the transfers. Let's say we get news, for example, that Salah is benched, Haaland is benched. The website could crash, and
yeah.
you have to sort of figure out that you don't want to leave it too late, right? So 10 minutes max is going to be the cutoff for me, and I'm just going to move at that point.
It's so hard this week. I mean, we've seen before when we're waiting for individual teams' team news. For example, say City at the early kickoff. I remember for one game week, I had a set plan of, okay, if Haaland is benched, get Alvarez in. If he's playing, do this.
Yeah.
You already had your
Yeah.
plans in place. But now, because of every team is playing at the same time and there could be mass
Yeah.
rotation, it's very hard to have those
Yeah.
initial plans in place.
There are a gazillion scenarios. You need like
Yeah.
multiple. You need like a million flowcharts, literally, to account for the scenarios that might happen. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just not humanly possible. So, I mean, you just need a rough idea of the players you want, and that's it basically.
Right then. So let's talk about players then. You said you need a rough
Yeah.
idea of players that you want. For you, let's go through some of those players.
Let's say if Haaland was out, I'll probably move him on for Kane because I
Okay.
think with Leeds needing a result on the final day, they'll push for a result, they'll attack, and I think that could work in Spurs' favor. Kane has an excellent record away from home. Sorry, has an excellent record on the final day where he scored 9 goals in his career, I believe, and he's averaging around 9 points per game. And he's 2 goals away from the 30 goal mark. So there's that as well, added
Oh,
motivation for him.
huge.
And
Yeah.
Spurs tend to do well on the counter attack. So this is a fixture where I really like. Leeds are even under Big Sam, their defensive statistics are terrible. They're worse for minutes per XG conceded. So there's that. If Haaland was to miss out, if Haaland is to start, I don't think I can see myself getting either Kane or Son because I don't have a route in terms of budget. Let's say if Salah was out, there's a chance I'll probably move him on for Son for similar reasons because I expect Spurs to have fun on the counter.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's say if Haaland was out, I would also then move Isak to Alvarez because that would obviously mean that Alvarez is playing because I don't see a scenario where neither of Alvarez or Haaland start. But I only want Alvarez if he's playing as the number 9 because that's where he's at his best and that's where he has the best underlying data. I don't want him if he's playing behind Haaland because his numbers in that scenario aren't as good. Let's say if I'm lucky enough to have all of my players starting, then perhaps I would move on McAllister for Eze.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Eze is a great shout this week. Forest have conceded the highest number of penalties this season. There's no Zaha. Eze is likely playing in the number 10. There's a feel good factor about Palace. They've scored 8 goals in their previous 4. Eze has 8 returns in his previous 9 starts. So everything is working in his favor, and I like this fixture for Eze. Other than that, I mean, there are a few punts for, let's say, if there's any news regarding Isak, I have Watkins down as a potential replacement.
Yeah.
I think Watkins is one who could do really well this week. He's one of the rare players this week who's nailed for 90 minutes, who has motivation because Villa are going for a European place. And they're coming up against a Brighton side who are A, totally knackered because they've played so many games, and B, they don't have anything to play for. So they're as beachy as one could get. And Watkins also is on penalties as well. So I don't
Is that a
particularly
good
rate the
thing
Brighton
though?
defense. That's a good point because he doesn't have a great conversion rate. He's It's almost like he tends to miss like 50% of his penalties,
He
which
is
is,
very bad at penalties, I
yeah,
will say.
yeah, he's very bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but still, I mean, overall, he's a nice package to
Yes,
have this
of
week.
course.
Brighton away from home, they tend to concede around 1.5 xG per game. I don't really rate their defense that highly away from home.
Okay.
I think Villa will finish strongly. So there's that. There are a couple more. There's possibly Liverpool attacker depending on team leaks, and maybe the Arsenal boys depending on team leaks. I mean, we just heard that Saka is a bit of a doubt, so
Yeah.
that puts me off him. But there's Jesus, who I like. His numbers at home this season are very very strong. Um, yeah, overall, these are the players that I'm targeting. Let's see who I end up buying and where I end up.
So a lot of players there, but I think you can kind of see guys that, like, Bakar's got his kind of, I guess, watch list in place, and
Yeah,
you can just dip into that at any point given the team use. So you've got to be very
yeah,
reactive and just kind of see what fits in your team. I quite like it.
yeah.
It's going to be a really intense half an hour or so, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of
There are
pressure
a
on your
couple of cheap
moves.
mids as well. I forgot to mention there are a couple of cheap mids as well.
Okay.
Let's say if I can't get to Eze, there's McNeil. But
Yeah.
again, that's dependent on team news because if he's playing as a wing back, that depends on Mikalenko's fitness. I don't want him if he's playing as a wing back. And there's Jacob Ramsey. I've mentioned about Villa. I like their fixture. I like Jacob Ramsey. He's another good pick this week.
There you go. It just rattled off. How many names was that? About 10 to 15. But yeah,
Yeah,
such is the
eight to
nature of
ten,
this
I
game
think.
week, right?
Yeah, you have to have these plans in place, but so that you don't end up panicking before the deadline.
Let's move on to something a little bit more concrete. I mean, maybe it's not even that concrete, to be fair, but let's just say that everybody starts, including the players that are in your team right now and your potential moves in. Who is your captain likely to be?
I think it's likely to be Salah because I trust him to play a higher number of minutes than Haaland. I think City will go full strength because Pep mentioned about rhythm, and he generally historically tends to go full strength on the final day of the season. But I think there's a risk that he's preserved after the hour mark, while Salah I think is likely to play a higher number of minutes. And Brentford at home are decent. I mean, they're conceding on average 1 goal a game. They're not as leaky as Southampton, who've conceded the highest number of goals at home this season. Even in the previous six, they're 20th for XG conceded. And Salah dominates the XG statistics for Liverpool. So I think he's the one I want. It'll be more interesting if Salah doesn't start. Then the captaincy
Yeah.
discussion, it becomes very tricky because then either you can go for Son, Haaland, Kane, depending on team leagues, and even Rashford.
Wow. I mean, yeah. Again, going to be a super intense kind of half an hour to an hour, I guess, depending on team news, of course. Right. Let's talk a bit about hits and whether they're worth it this week. Obviously, only one game to regain that 4 points. But let's say your player isn't starting and you're not too much of a fan of the players on your bench, or who knows, maybe you're even down to your bare 11. How viable are hits this week?
I mean, the general rule of thumb is that the later you get into the season, the less is the chances of a hit paying off. But with the high risk of rotation, for the number of players you've already mentioned, there could be a scenario where you end up with, let's say, just 7 or 8 players who are starting in your 11.
Yeah.
And in that case, obviously, you have to then go for the players you know who are confirmed to start. So I'm not totally against it.
Okay. And then let's talk about overall rank. This is the big one for you right now. First of all, what is your target? What would you be happy with this season? And then secondly, how are you looking to get that? I guess the answer will depend on your rank. So let's get that first. What is your target rank for this season, given where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, after the World Cup, I was targeting 50K, and I think at the moment I'm 39K. If I stay within the 50K, I'll be elated with the rank.
Okay, so I guess looking to consolidate then. How are you
For
going to go
sure,
about
for
doing
sure.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the best way if you're playing to consolidate rank or to defend a mini league, let's say you have like a 10, 15 point lead over a rival, is to just pick the template players. I know it's very boring, but that's how it works. You
Yeah.
just get the players you think will be highly owned. For example, I think that Eze is a very popular transfer this week. His ownership isn't very high this week, but I think there are a lot of people who will be buying him in 38. Let's say if Haaland isn't starting in 38, then everyone will flock to Kane. So these are the kind of scenarios you need to have in your head and play them accordingly.
So vice versa then. What if you're chasing? Do you have to try and like second guess what people above you may be doing? Do you go for? I mean, given what you just said about Eze, there a lot of people will be going for him. Do you then not go for Eze because you think even though he is low owned now, he will be highly owned, and therefore you need to go somewhere else? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends on the deficit that you're chasing. If it's, if you're chasing top 50K and you're 10 points off, or if you're chasing a mini league rival who's 10 points ahead of you, 10 points, I don't think is a big enough scenario to justify going too gung ho.
Okay.
So let's say if it's a 10-point lead, you can go with 2 to 3 differentials, and that will be enough. 2 or 3 differentials to the top 10K or the rival you're chasing. But let's say if it's a greater lead than that, then I think you need to be very aggressive. I would probably look at going with a differential captain. Let's say someone like the Sun, who has high upside and who
Wow.
I know people won't get this week, right?
Yeah.
So these are the kind of risks you have to take. I mean, if you have nothing to lose and you're chasing something, these are the things that need to happen. Very similar to when people went Wilson over Isak a couple of weeks ago, and it paid off handsomely. So
Very
these are
true.
the kind of swings, right, that you need to take.
That's a very good point. I mean, that was well, a very close to a 50-50 decision, really. And people that were chasing went for it. And I mean, what was the difference given the fact that we were captaining the player we were transferring in, and Wilson did so much better than Isak? It was what was it, about a 20-point difference in the end, a 15-point difference? I mean, it's a very significant difference, right? Just based on one decision, as you say.
Yeah, and you double that because most of the people who bought one didn't have the other, right?
Exactly.
So it's a big decision. Yeah. Right. So let's say if you have 2 free transfers, you get news that Haaland isn't starting. If you're looking to consolidate rank, it's an easy move to Kane. If you're looking to go aggressively and you're just playing for fun, then you go and spread the funds to Son and you captain him and you just shoot for the stars.
Shift the stars. You might just win it. Who knows? It's one of those things that like, I don't know. Sometimes when you're at the top of a mini league, but you're not ahead by too much, say 10 points, and the players you say is the go template, but then you're kind of worried by people below you that have gone for these crazy shouts, because who knows? One little swing there, then you're done.
You don't own them.
Exactly. And I guess that's the point, right? Yeah.
That's the whole point, yeah. One crazy haul will tilt the mini league upside down. That's the whole point.
Yeah, very fun game week, that is for sure. Let's talk about one transfer that may be quite popular this week then. Bruno, I want to hear your thoughts on his potential this week. Obviously, you've said that team news dependent, Salah is your captain. For people like me that have Bruno and don't have Salah, would you make that move?
I think Bruno is an excellent shout this week. I mean, United put up like 5 XG against Chelsea last time. They'll be full of confidence, and I think Bruno will start this week because I think there's Ten Hag doesn't historically tend to rotate, and with Anthony's injury, I think there is fewer competition in the attacking spots. I think Bruno will play cam. But having said that, I mean, going without Salah against Southampton is going to be very scary, especially when a lot of people will end up captaining. So
yeah,
I think the decision rests on whether or not you end up captaining Salah. Let's say if you're a non-owner, you buy him, will you captain him? If you will captain him, then you should go for him, in my opinion.
And Bruno as a captain?
I don't think he's a bad shout, but I think there's a chance he gets taken off after 60-70 to preserve him for the cup final.
Okay. Oh, I feel like there's just so many different things that could happen. As you said, we need a million flowcharts. How many flowcharts do you have right now, Bakar? That's my question.
I don't have any. I mean, I just have these
all up here.
8 to 10 potential targets in my head.
Yeah.
And I hope I stay fresh and I look out for team leaks and then react quickly. You have to be reactive. I mean, I hope I react well and don't end up panicking.
There we go. I think let's leave it there for that one, my friend. It seems like, normally what we like doing in
Yeah.
these videos, or what I love getting from Bakar, is solid advice. This is a better player than this player for this week for these reasons, in your opinion, of
Yeah.
course.
No.
But I think
No.
you'd be silly to do that this week, right? You'd be conning the viewers
Yeah.
by saying that. It's just not the
Yeah.
case.
No chance. No,
Yeah.
no, no. Just go with whoever you feel is the best option. Just it's all about vibes. Nothing to lose.
And why do you think that is different to other game weeks then?
Because it's just one game week. It's random. When, for example, I mean, I quoted this on the wire as well. For example, in game week 29, there was this very popular dilemma between Watkins and Havertz, right? A lot of people went Havertz, some went Watkins. Those who went Watkins ended up, let's say, with a 35, 40-point swing over Havertz over the coming weeks. Because
Yes.
the problem is that the point is that those points keep on accumulating and that decision keeps costing you week after week after week. And, it just keeps hurting you. Well, there's only a certain extent to which it can hurt you this week. I mean, what will be the worst case scenario? Probably a 10-point swing,
Yeah.
12-point swing. I mean, so what? Life doesn't
Yeah.
end.
And as you're saying, if you need to risk something, then why not go for something like that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Well then, my friend, that is going to do it for the final video this season. It's been a pleasure chatting with you this year, Bakar.
Thanks,
Roll
man.
on next year. And
Thanks, man. Appreciate your support this season. It's been a pleasure podding with you all this while. Thank you to all the listeners and viewers who've watched us this season. Thank you so much for the support. It truly means a lot. We hope to have you back next season and have a good summer.
Likewise, my friend. I couldn't have said it better myself. Not sure how your team reveal is going to work. Your team reveal article is going to work this week.
It's exactly the same as what I've basically said in this video. Just listed down a potential list of targets and said let's react to the leaks.
Well, link to that as always is down below. Guys, good luck for the final game week. I would just say, personal advice, don't leave anything in the tank. If you want to go and have some fun and push for differentials and really go and try and win your leagues, even if you're 50 points behind, it can be done. It really can be. So yeah, have fun with it. And indeed, we will see you all next season.